10 glittering palaces once echoed with laughter from screen queens. Now they're boarded up like cursed stage sets. Behind each crumbling gate lurks a tale of runaway fortunes, tragic love, Hollywood's mirrors. From Elizabeth Taylor's Bel-Air refuge to Marilyn's Brentwood heartbreak, these ruins whisper secrets louder than any Hollywood scandal's headline. Would you dare cross their thresholds and uncover what really drove these icons to abandon their dream homes? Comment if you'd enter. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor, a one-of-a-kind screen icon and Hollywood darling, found herself at a crossroads in 1976, reeling from her second divorce from Richard Burton and with her film career waning. In the meantime, Taylor purchased a grand mansion in Bel-Air at 700 Nimes Road in early 1982. This 7,000 square-foot ranch-style home, initially owned by Nancy Sinatra and later transformed by a developer, was intended to be more than just a home. It was a fortress against the stressful echoes of her past glories and a place where new chapters awaited. It became her main residence until her death in 2011, a notable contrast to the transitory nature of celebrity real estate. The Bel-Air property, acquired for $2 million, equating to about $6.3 million today, was situated in the famed Platinum Triangle, an area synonymous with wealth, exclusivity, and stringent security. Spanning 1.27 acres, the estate was meticulously outfitted with 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a bricked motor court, a resplendent turquoise swimming pool, a serene koi pond, and an enchanting English rose garden, a nod to Taylor's British roots. Walter Fernandez, who also worked with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, designed the interiors, featuring white carpets, impressionist artworks, a tribute to her father, and a palette of blues and lavenders mirroring her iconic violet eyes. Despite housing masterpieces by Van Gogh, Matisse, Pissarro, and Renoir, Taylor ensured her home was welcoming and modest, a stark contrast to her glamorous public image. It was a cherished haven for her children, grandchildren, pets, and even hosted annual Easter egg hunts. However, even this long-cherished sanctuary now faces an uncertain future. Following Taylor's passing in 2011, the residence was listed for $8.6 million and sold to Rocky Malhotra, who initially chose to preserve its historical integrity. Years later, the property was sold in an off-market deal for $1 million to R. Tavangarian, a Los Angeles-based real estate developer. Tavangarian plans to demolish Taylor's former residence and replace it with a more grandiose edifice, stirring significant discontent among fans and preservationists who fear the erasure of a piece of Hollywood history forever. The fate of Elizabeth Taylor's favorite home currently hangs in a delicate balance. Before we continue, we want to hear from you. What country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below and let us know. Marian Davies. Actress Marian Davies, a dazzling star in her own right, became entwined with powerful media mogul William Randolph Hearst. Their love was also a creative partnership, culminating in the brainstorming of a grand mansion in Santa Monica in 1926, intended to symbolize their dreams, ambitions, and love. The genesis of this architectural marvel was entrusted to Julia Morgan, a luminary architect celebrated for shattering glass ceilings and her work on Hearst Castle. The resulting beach house was a sprawling 100-room mansion completed in 1929 that blended Art Deco, Mediterranean, and Georgian Revival styles. Strategically positioned on a 5-acre oceanfront plot, it boasted amenities fit for an empress, including tennis courts, guest houses, an ornate marble swimming pool, and a bespoke nightclub. Adorned with Tiffany chandeliers and treasures from Hearst's European sojourns, it swiftly became the epicenter of Hollywood's glamorous rendezvous. Davies, stepping into her role as the hostess of Hollywood's high society, transformed the beach house into an exclusive haven. These gatherings, especially Davies's legendary costume parties, were the epitome of exclusivity and elegance, frequented by A-list stars like Charlie Chaplin, Greta Garbo, and Clark Gable. Beyond the grand parties during the tumultuous Great Depression, Davies transformed her home into a sanctuary for those facing hardship in the film industry, discreetly offering meals, jewelry, and cash to less fortunate guests. This showcased her altruistic spirit and solidified the beach house's status as a beacon of hope and unity. However, in the 1940s, as World War II cast a shadow over Hollywood extravagance and Hearst's business empire declined, Davies faced significant decisions. In a move reflecting her astute financial acumen, Davies sold the beach house in 1945 amidst a property tax dispute, marking the end of an era for the mansion. The property was acquired by hotelier Joseph Drown in 1947 for $600,000, roughly $8.2 million today, and reimagined as Ocean House, a luxurious hotel and exclusive beach club. Yet, despite its inherent opulence, the hotel's success was fleeting, and the main mansion met its demise, crushed by demolition in 1956, a decision that faced opposition from local residents. The Sand and Sea Club remained operational, but the narrative of the estate took another turn when the state of California purchased it in 1960, repurposing the land into a parking lot. While the Annenberg Foundation later intervened to create the Annenberg Community Beach House in 2009, only the guest house and the main pool remain from its original architecture, serving as poignant reminders of a lost era of Hollywood glamour. Marilyn Monroe. In February 1962, amid a career marked by professional setbacks, health issues, and a publicized battle with depression, Hollywood starlet Marilyn Monroe sought solace in a Spanish colonial-style house in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. Purchased for $75,000, roughly $780,000 today, this was the only property she ever owned independently, speaking to her deep desire for a personal sanctuary away from the relentless pressures of Hollywood. The one-story Hender-style residence, constructed in 1929, exuded rustic allure with its adobe walls and quintessential red tile roofing, offering a secluded retreat at the end of a tranquil cul-de-sac. Poignantly, she had the Latin phrase "cura un proficio," meaning "my journey ends here," placed above the front door. Monroe's personal influence permeated every corner of the 3,000 square foot residence. Her choice of Mexican furniture, art, and tiles infused the home with authenticity, particularly resonating in the dining room, which she repurposed as a den. The extensively remodeled kitchen retained the original positions of key fixtures, preserving the historical integrity of her modifications. The master bedroom offered a serene escape with direct access to the lush backyard and its kidney-shaped swimming pool, areas where Monroe enjoyed leisurely afternoons. An additional small guest house was under renovation by Monroe at the time of her passing. Before this final abode, Monroe's journey was mirrored in other residences, from humble early apartments to a Spanish-style villa, a penthouse in West Hollywood, and a New York City apartment she shared with Arthur Miller, consistently favoring a minimalist monochromatic design palette. Tragically, Monroe lived in her beloved Brentwood home for only 6 months before her untimely death from a drug overdose on August 4, 1962. Following her demise, the residence swiftly became a beacon for curiosity, receiving at least 6 purchase offers the day after her death. The Nuntz family acquired it in 1963, later auctioning its contents. Decades later, in July 2023, the house, purchased for $8.3 million, faced a new, ferocious historical preservation battle. Its new owners, Bren Milstein and Roy Bank, are vigorously fighting to demolish the historic structure to expand their adjacent estate, triggering massive legal battles and sparking debates over preserving Hollywood's tangible links to one of its most iconic stars. Despite the Los Angeles City Council's unanimous vote in June 2024 to declare Monroe's last residence a historic cultural monument, protecting it from immediate demolition, Milstein and Bank are pushing forward with a legal challenge, contending that significant renovations have stripped the residence of its direct links to Monroe. The fate of Marilyn Monroe's iconic last home thus hangs in the balance, caught between cultural heritage and property owner rights. Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks Pickfair. In the early years of the 1920s, Mary Pickford, known as the Queen of the Movies, and Douglas Fairbanks, the King of Hollywood, stood at the vanguard of shaping not merely the cinematic landscape but also defining a lavish way of life. Their opulent lifestyle was embodied by their 15-acre Beverly Hills estate, christened Pickfair by fusing their last names, a name so renowned that it branded their extravagant dwelling. Pickford was far more than just a celebrity home. It was a symbol, an emblem of Hollywood's burgeoning golden age, even likened to America's Buckingham Palace by Lord Mountbatten. Architect Wallace Neff transformed an unassuming Spanish colonial revival dwelling into an awe-inspiring mansion with grand interiors featuring exquisite leaded glass windows, elaborate parquet flooring, and celestial-themed murals. Pickford was a realm of lavishness and innovation, boasting unexpected delights like a Western saloon, what was considered the first in-ground pool in Los Angeles, and Douglas Fairbanks's underground jogging track. The living room, adorned with 18th century art antiques, Louis XVI furniture, and Chinese damask silk, served as the opulent core, reflecting the couple's collective interest in international culture. The exterior was equally enchanting, with flourishing orchards and intricately landscaped gardens that infused the air with the scent of lavender and jasmine, providing an aura of tranquility. Pickford became the undeniable epicenter of Hollywood's effervescent social scene, hosting legendary dinner parties with an enviable guest roster that ranged from cinematic giants like Charlie Chaplin to monumental personalities like Albert Einstein and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. An invitation to this hallowed space was a confirmation of one's place among the influential elite. However, like all things subject to the fickleness of time and fortune, the allure of Pickford began to diminish as the 1930s approached, paralleling the waning film careers of Pickford and Fairbanks. Their once idyllic love story eventually disintegrated with their divorce in 1936, transforming the mansion from a vibrant social hub into a haunting relic of a dissolved union. Mary Pickford continued to inhabit the estate with her third husband, Charles "Buddy" Rogers, but the vibrancy and social magnetism of Pickford never fully resurfaced. After Pickford's passing in 1979, Pickford became vacant, transforming into a mute emblem of its past grandeur. While Los Angeles Lakers owner Jerry Buss acquired it in the 1980s for $5.4 million, roughly $20 million today, and opted for historical restoration, ensuring its legacy through profitable fundraisers, its fate was to change again. In 1988, the Pickford estate underwent another change of ownership, acquired by Israeli tycoon Meshulam Riklis and his wife, American actress Pia Zadora, for $6.7 million. Despite initial declarations about forthcoming renovations, their true intentions quickly yielded to the grim realization that they had divergent plans for the iconic property. On April 22, 1990, much of the Pickford mansion was razed, igniting a vehement public backlash from observers and even Douglas Fairbanks Jr., who questioned why the couple would purchase the mansion just to dismantle it. Pia Zadora initially cited the mansion's dilapidated condition and termite infestation as reasons for its destruction, but years later she divulged an additional rationale: the belief that the estate was haunted, with paranormal activity reportedly playing a significant role in the family's decision to level the prominent piece of Hollywood history. Regardless of the actual motives, the leveling of Pickford signified a jarring detachment from Hollywood's history, effectively cutting off an invaluable cultural and historical artery. Soon after, a new Venetian-style edifice sprouted on the parcel, its modern architecture standing in conspicuous contrast to the original Pickford's historical allure, serving as a venue for professional activities. Only vestiges of the original, such as the gates, kidney-shaped pool, and a two-bedroom guest wing, linger as eloquent reminders of an earlier epoch. The Garden of Allah Hotel. The Garden of Allah Hotel, a name that twinkles with Hollywood glamour, began its illustrious journey in the early 1910s, not as a hotel but as a private estate dubbed Havenhurst. In 1918, silent film star Alla Nazimova leased the 2.5-acre property at 8152 Sunset Boulevard, purchasing it outright the following year. Nazimova, investing $65,000, equal to around $1.1 million today, reshaped her domain into a salute to her Crimean roots, featuring a distinctive Black Sea-shaped swimming pool and lush, manicured landscapes. Christening it the Garden of Allah, her home quickly became a magnet for Hollywood's elite, known for its artistic salons. However, as the glitter of the 1920s began to dim, so did Nazimova's financial stability, leading her to consider transforming her star-studded sanctuary into a hotel. Intrigued and desperate, Nazimova commissioned architect Frank Elmolin in 1926 to help dream up the Garden of Allah Hotel. Their vision was a cluster of 25 luxury Spanish Moorish villas nestled among the gardens, each a private retreat with sumptuous allure. The famous pool retained its central cameo, and each villa was designed for privacy, with teak floors, Spanish furniture, and modern amenities. The hotel's grand opening on January 9, 1927, was an 18-hour gala that saw the crème de la crème of Hollywood descend upon the garden. Throughout the 1930s, this charming oasis not only provided a sumptuous backdrop for Tinseltown's glitterati, but also functioned as the social nucleus of a burgeoning film industry. It became a glamorous enclave where hedonism was a fine art, hosting figures like Humphrey Bogart, Errol Flynn, and Greta Garbo, and serving as a crucible of creative alchemy for literary and musical talents. Even during the turmoil of World War II, its allure adapted, becoming a beacon for those in the throes of wartime anxiety. Yet in the post-war years, the Garden of Allah began its twilight, wilting under the weight of a changing industry and shifting cultural mores. Its allure diminished as celebrities began putting down roots in permanent homes, and sleek modern hotels lured away its clientele. The social fabric of Hollywood itself transformed, with the chill of the Red Scare casting a shadow over the garden's freewheeling ethos, turning its once celebrated revelries into liabilities. Efforts to revitalize the hotel with renovations and management shake-ups ultimately spluttered like a fading starlet's comeback attempt. By 1957, when the property passed to Morris Marwitz and Isidore Rosinus for a mere $500,000, the writing was on the wall. In April 1959, when Bart Lytton acquired the Garden of Allah not to restore it, but to raise it, planning a modern bank building. In August 1959, a grand farewell party drew over 1,000 mourners, followed by a macabre auction where bits and pieces of Hollywood history were parceled out to the highest bidder. As wrecking balls tore through the structure, a chapter closed not just on a building, but on an epoch. By 1960, the iconic Garden of Allah Hotel gave way to the Lytton Savings Building, later becoming a strip mall. In April 2021, the Lytton Savings Building itself was demolished for a proposed Frank Gehry development, which has since stalled, leaving the lot at 8,150 Sunset Boulevard, currently vacant. This transformation from a vibrant cultural hub to an empty lot encapsulates the fluid nature of architectural history and cultural memory in Los Angeles, a poignant farewell to a golden age. Betty White. Betty White, a beloved actress who had captivated audiences since the late 1930s, made her mark in television from co-hosting Hollywood on Television to producing Life with Elizabeth and starring in game shows. In 1968, White and her husband, game show host Alan Ludden, purchased a colonial-style home in Brentwood, Los Angeles, which would become her sanctuary for over 5 decades. This 3,000 square foot residence, built in the 1950s on a generous 3-4 acre plot, offered a delightful mix of expansive serenity and seclusion. Brentwood itself had become a coveted enclave for Hollywood's elite, known for its blend of historical charm and modern architectural marvels. The living room, a nucleus of the home's charm, was where Betty's natural flair for hosting shone, creating an atmosphere that was both sophisticated and inviting for lively gatherings and quiet evenings with her beloved dogs. The kitchen, a blend of practicality and style, was where she found joy in the simple rituals of tea-making and cookie baking, creating memories amidst laughter and the scent of baked goods. Her master suite and private sanctuaries were filled with personal touches, documenting a life well lived with books, career mementos, and glittering awards. The outdoor space, featuring a flat, grassy lawn, a stone patio, and a sparkling swimming pool, provided a secluded retreat that undoubtedly brought joy to White, known for her deep affection for animals and nature. The house became a menagerie of beloved dogs, cats, and birds, reflecting her deep-seated commitment to animal welfare and her work with organizations like the Morris Animal Foundation and the Los Angeles Zoo. In 1981, White faced the greatest challenge of her life when Alan Ludden passed away from stomach cancer. Despite her profound grief, White made the poignant decision to remain in their Brentwood home, a place heavy with the memories of their life together, which became her refuge. She famously remarked that after Ludden, there was no need to marry again. Her loyalty to his memory reflected in the way she maintained their home. Even as her career soared with her iconic portrayal of Rose Nyland on The Golden Girls, earning her more accolades, her Brentwood home remained her true north, a place where she could retreat from the world. However, following Betty White's passing on December 31, 2021, her Brentwood residence became an unexpected focal point for her admirers. By June 2022, the property was sold for a notable $10.6 million, with the peculiar stipulation that no prospective buyers were permitted to step foot inside because the value lay strictly in the land, and the house itself was destined for demolition. Demolished it was later that same year. By December 2022, almost a year to the day after White's death, the house had been cleared, leaving behind only a few steadfast elements, like the fireplaces, which were also marked for removal. While fragments like her bright yellow front door found new life elsewhere, snapped up by comedian Chelsea Lynn, the razing of the Brentwood home closed a chapter that spanned over 5 decades. Proceeds from the sale of her property and other assets were directed towards causes close to White's heart, particularly those benefiting animal welfare, ensuring her philanthropic spirit lived on. The demolition stirred sorrow among White's devoted fans, some questioning why the residence wasn't preserved as a memorial. But those close to White affirmed that she had been fully aware of the plans for the property and had ensured that the proceeds would continue to support her passions. The Brentwood home may be gone, but the impact of White's remarkable life remains vibrantly alive. Should Betty White's house have been demolished or preserved as a piece of Hollywood history? Comment yes or no below. Jayne Mansfield. In 1957, Hollywood's newest blonde sensation, Jayne Mansfield, set her sights on a 40-room Mediterranean villa once owned by crooner Rudy Vallee. Paying a mere $76,000, about $850,000 today, she transformed the staid residence into a Technicolor daydream, the tabloids soon dubbed the Pink Palace. Nothing escaped her cotton candy vision. Every stucco wall, every balustrade, even the driveway fountain blushed a delicate shade of bubblegum. Neon-rimmed cherubs perched over doorways, while a heart-shaped swimming pool, hand-built by husband and former Mr. Universe Mickey Hargitay, proclaimed "I love you, Janie" in mosaic tile. Legend insists that on cue, the courtyard fountain could spurt chilled pink champagne, a fizzy oath to Mansfield's unabashed fantasy of life as one long photo shoot. For a glitter-soaked decade, the Pink Palace pulsed with energy. Reporters lined Sunset Boulevard, hoping to glimpse Mansfield descending her sweeping staircase in a feathered peignoir or hosting midnight soirees where rock and roll royalty rubbed elbows with studio moguls under rose-tinted chandeliers. Even mundane chores became theatre. Mansfield posed for Life magazine while walking her pet lion cub along the pink lawn and famously kept a pink Cadillac parked beneath palms wrapped in pink Christmas lights year-round. Inside, the decor was equal parts Versailles and Vegas, wall-to-wall mirrors, gold-leaf cupids, and plush carpeting so saturated in pink dye that guests jokingly feared it might stain their shoes. Fate, however, proved less accommodating than fantasy. Mansfield's tragic car crash in 1967 froze the palace in time. Ownership passed to Ringo Starr and later crooner Engelbert Humperdinck, both of whom preserved the mansion's trademark blush yet rarely entertained with Mansfield's abandon. By the late 1990s, escalating land values on Sunset made the flamboyant relic a developer's bullseye. Despite nostalgic protests from preservationists and a flurry of fan petitions to landmark the site, bulldozers rolled in on a grey November morning in 2002, reducing the dreamscape to rubble within hours. Only the original wrought iron front gate, painted a fading rose, lingers by the curb. Sharon Tate. Perched high above Benedict Canyon, Robert Byrd's 1942 storybook, French Normandy Cottage. It first belonged to French film star Michelle Morgan, its half-timbered gables and diamond-pane windows evoking a grimesque idyll amid the Hollywood hills. 2 decades later, director Roman Polanski and rising actress Sharon Tate leased the secluded retreat, dreaming it a cradle for their new family. On warm summer nights, Tate, 8.5 months pregnant, would drift through the jasmine-scented courtyard, planning nursery colours while friends lounged beneath twinkle lights strung from ancient eucalyptus trees. The idyll shattered on August 9, 1969, when followers of Charles Manson stormed the house, ending 5 lives in an orgy of violence that scorched its name into American nightmare. For years, the cottage sat vacant, curtains fluttering in broken windows while thrill-seekers crept up the long drive to snap photos of blood-spattered folklore. Neighbors petitioned for silence. Real estate agents whispered of echoes that chilled even the midday sun. At last, in 1994, real estate investor Alvin Weintraub bought the property and pronounced a ruthless cure. Every timber goes. Bulldozers erased the cottage, its rose garden, even the topsoil. Not a single blade of grass survives, Weintraub bragged, before a sprawling 18,000 square foot Mediterranean fortress rose in its place, christened Villa Bella. To sever the final thread, he convinced officials to renumber the parcel 10066 Yellow Drive, hoping new digits might bleach away old horrors. Yet locals insist the canyon still murmurs at dusk, as if memory itself refuses demolition. In a city quick to trade ghosts for square footage, Cielo Drive remains a cautionary tale. History can be bulldozed, but it is rarely buried. Gloria Swanson. When silent screen empress Gloria Swanson swept through Beverly Hills in 1922, she claimed the hilltop estate once owned by razor magnate King C. Gillette, a 22-room Italian Renaissance villa, crowned with red-tile roofs and stucco arches that glowed apricot in the late afternoon sun. Within weeks, the mansion became a jazz-age playground, orchestra music spilling onto moonlit terraces, prohibition champagne hidden in gilt samovars and whispered behind feathered fans, midnight trysts between Swanson and powerful studio patriarch Joseph P. Kennedy. On any given evening, Hollywood's new royalty, Chaplin, Fairbanks, Valentino, might waltz beneath carved stone colonnades while Swanson, draped in lame, played hostess as though she truly were Norma Desmond come to life. Yet Beverly Hills has never been sentimental. By the early 1950s, the once mythic villa stood unfashionably modest beside the swelling ambitions of modern developers. Bulldozers arrived with scant ceremony, grinding Gillette's limestone columns and Swanson's mirrored ballroom into dust. For decades, the parcel changed hands, its past reduced to rumor while speculative plans stalled and rebooted. Then, in 2012, developer Mohammed Hadid unveiled Le Palais, a 48,000 square foot limestone chateau complete with ballroom, marble hammam, rooftop infinity pool, and an asking price of $60 million, a fortress of excess so vast it eclipsed every memory of Swanson's Mediterranean grace. Today, no trace of her stucco arches or red-tile eaves survives. Only the lot itself recalls the star who once paced those terraces, rehearsing lines for a spotlight that would not last, yet refusing ever to fade quietly into the night. Because YouTube will prioritize interactive videos, please comment "OK" if you find this video interesting. Thank you. Britney Spears. In 2015, at the height of a hard-won Vegas comeback, pop icon Britney Spears scooped up a palatial Italianate villa on 20 hushed acres in Thousand Oaks, paying $7.4 million for its promise of privacy far from paparazzi flashbulbs. Inside the iron gates lay 13,300 square feet of marble hallways, double staircases, and Roman-style water features, an oasis where Britney could swap stadium roars for birdsong and the laughter of her 2 young sons. But in 2019, when her father's sudden illness collided with an intensifying legal battle over her conservatorship, the singer fled the estate like a bird from an open cage, vowing not to darken its doorstep until her life was her own. For years, the house sat abandoned, a gilded time capsule sliding into disrepair. Aerial photos told the tale, fountains silenced, emerald lawns browning despite a mercifully wet winter, sun-bleached lounge cushions tossed by canyon winds, forgotten pool toys bobbing in once pristine turquoise, ghostly reminders of happier afternoons. Even a small army of gardeners could not outrun neglect. In 2022, Spears, newly married to actor Sam Asghari and flush from a freedom that sparked headlines, listed the property for $7.9 million. Buyers balked, perhaps spooked by the tabloid turmoil swirling around its absentee owner. The listing quietly expired, and Britney pivoted, splurging on a Calabasas showplace she and Asghari would sell almost as swiftly as they bought it. Zara Fithian. Zara Fithian, once celebrated for her martial arts prowess and her role in Doctor Strange, is now serving an 8-year prison sentence, convicted alongside her husband Victor Mark in a case that stunned fans and the film industry alike. Their downfall began when a victim came forward, revealing how Zara and Victor had abused her trust over an extended period. The trial revealed a web of manipulation and exploitation, with the couple using their status and authority to take advantage of someone who looked up to them. Witnesses and solid evidence left no room for doubt, confirming the severity of their actions. While Victor Mark received an even longer sentence, Zara's 8-year punishment marked the end of her promising career and shattered her reputation as both an actress and a respected martial artist. Once seen as a star on the rise, she is now remembered for the scandal that brought her world crashing down. The story serves as a powerful reminder that even the most admired public figures can have dark secrets, ones that can erase a lifetime of achievement in a single moment. Carlin Walker, sentenced to 50 years to life behind bars, actor-rapper Carlin Walker now endures a stark reality far removed from Hollywood's bright lights. Walker's conviction came after a high-profile trial that exposed how he contacted aspiring models online, dangled false promises of career breakthroughs, and then carried out serious misconduct against them. As testimony piled up, some of it from minors, the jury delivered a verdict that wiped out every trace of his once promising future. Before the scandal, Walker's resume looked unstoppable. A breakout role in Superfly, a growing rap career, red carpet appearances. Yet behind the scenes, he exploited fame as a weapon, causing fear and trauma where he had pledged opportunity. The backlash was swift and merciless, turning him overnight from rising celebrity to industry outcast. Now, instead of music videos or movie sets, Walker faces decades of unforgiving isolation, while his name serves as a blazing warning sign. His downfall shows how quickly power can rot when wielded for harm, and why no amount of stardom shields the guilty from consequences. Allison Mack. Allison Mack, once beloved for her role as Chloe on Smallville, ended up sentenced to 3 years in prison for her key involvement in the notorious NXIVM organization. Mack's story shocked the world. Far from being just another member, she rose to the top ranks of the group, acting as a trusted lieutenant to NXIVM's leader, Keith Raniere. What appeared on the surface to be a motivational self-help program was actually a secretive operation built on psychological control and disturbing rituals. Mack's role: she was the recruiter, convincing women to join the inner circle, where they were subjected to manipulation and strict control. One of the most chilling revelations was that some women were branded with both Raniere's and Mack's initials, a ritual that sparked outrage worldwide when exposed. In the courtroom, Mack pleaded guilty to charges including racketeering and conspiracy. She insisted she'd been manipulated by Raniere, claiming she believed she was helping her recruits. But the evidence told a different story, one of active and knowing participation. Ultimately, in 2021, Mack received her prison sentence. Though she has publicly apologized and tried to move forward, the shadow of NXIVM continues to follow her, a stark reminder that even those who once seemed wholesome can fall into darkness. Shannon Richardson. Shannon Richardson is serving an 18-year federal prison sentence after shocking the world with an act that stunned even the most jaded Hollywood insiders. In 2013, Richardson was convicted for sending dangerous letters to President Barack Obama and other high-profile leaders, a crime that shattered her career and sent ripples of fear across the nation. Known for her brief appearances on hit shows like The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries, Richardson's real-life plot seemed ripped from a crime thriller. Except this time, the danger was all too real. When federal agents discovered the tainted letters and followed the evidence trail, fingerprints, computer records, and materials from her own home, they unmasked Richardson as the mastermind behind the scheme. Desperate to escape responsibility, she attempted to blame her then-husband, but the forensic proof left no doubt. Shannon acted alone. The public was appalled as details emerged, transforming a little-known actress into a symbol of malicious intent. Hiding beneath a Hollywood veneer, Richardson's fall was swift and absolute. In July 2014, a judge handed down an 18-year sentence, marking the end of her ambitions and the beginning of a new, infamous chapter behind bars. Once just another face on television, Shannon Richardson is now remembered as a cautionary tale of how dangerous decisions and unchecked resentment can destroy lives, reputations, and any hope of redemption. Stephen Collins. Stephen Collins' entire career collapsed overnight after shocking revelations surfaced about his past. Once celebrated as the trustworthy Reverend Eric Camden on Seventh Heaven, Collins' true story is now a grim warning of how even the most respected Hollywood figures can fall from grace. In 2014, the world was stunned when an audio recording emerged, capturing Collins admitting to inappropriate conduct with minors, incidents that took place decades earlier. Although he openly confessed, the law could not intervene as too much time had passed for criminal prosecution, but the damage was instant and irreversible. TV networks yanked Seventh Heaven from their lineups, industry doors slammed shut, and Collins' reputation was destroyed almost overnight. Despite a public apology and expressions of regret, there was no salvaging his image. Once considered a pillar of family values on screen, Collins became synonymous with scandal and betrayal. His name, once associated with warmth and guidance, now only brings to mind disappointment and outrage. Recent documentaries, including a 2025 investigation discovery series, have kept his case in the public eye, reminding everyone just how far a Hollywood star can fall when their darkest secrets come to light. Today, Stephen Collins stands as a stark lesson. In the end, no carefully built legacy is strong enough to survive the weight of truth. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein is currently serving a combined sentence of nearly 40 years in prison, following convictions in both New York and Los Angeles for serious offenses related to abuse of power and criminal conduct. Once the most influential figure behind the scenes in Hollywood, Weinstein now sits behind bars, a shocking reversal for a man who once shaped the entire industry. The turning point came in 2017 when decades of whispered allegations finally erupted into public view. Dozens of women, including some of the biggest names in entertainment, stepped forward with harrowing accounts of Weinstein's predatory behavior. Explosive investigations by the New York Times and the New Yorker triggered a cultural earthquake, unleashing a torrent of accusations and sparking the global #MeToo movement. In 2020, Weinstein was convicted in New York for multiple felony charges and handed a 23-year sentence. 2 years later, a Los Angeles court found him guilty once again, resulting in an additional 16-year term. Appeals have followed, but his convictions remain firmly in place. As of 2025, Harvey Weinstein's story is a cautionary tale, a powerful titan reduced to inmate, his name now synonymous with Hollywood's darkest reckoning. Where he once commanded red carpets and acceptance speeches, he now lives under constant watch, a symbol of the consequences that finally caught up with him. The era he once ruled is over, replaced by a new call for accountability that echoes far beyond Hollywood. Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic, born Joseph Maldonado Passage, once basked in the global spotlight, his wild antics and chaotic lifestyle turning him into a household name after the Netflix sensation Tiger King exploded in popularity. To millions, he was the larger-than-life zookeeper with a flair for drama and outlandish feuds. But behind the outrageous costumes and headline-grabbing sound bites, Joe Exotic was hiding secrets that would ultimately lead to his ruin. In 2019, the law finally caught up with him. His bitter public rivalry with Carole Baskin, a leading voice in animal rights, became the stuff of viral legend, escalating from insults and threats to a plan that would shock even his most loyal fans. Prosecutors revealed that Joe had actually paid someone to carry out a scheme against Baskin, a move that sealed his fate when the details emerged. That wasn't the end of his misdeeds. Investigators uncovered a grim trail of evidence, including illegal dealings with protected animals and the killing of several tigers right inside his own zoo. The truth was darker than any reality show. The so-called Tiger King had crossed every line, both morally and legally. In 2020, Joe Exotic's dramatic downfall ended with a 22-year sentence in federal prison. His case didn't just ignite a media firestorm. It sparked serious debate about the dark side of the exotic animal industry and the devastating consequences of unchecked egos in pursuit of fame. Even behind bars, his name keeps trending. Some supporters even launched campaigns for his freedom, pleading for high-level intervention. Joe Exotic's story is the ultimate cautionary tale, a whirlwind of fame, controversy, and reckless ambition that crashed and burned, leaving only regret and a ruined legacy behind bars. Constance Bennett. She once stepped on a crew member's hand during filming and didn't even look back when he screamed in pain. That was Constance Bennett, elegant, rich, and ice-cold. Behind the pearls and perfume was a woman Hollywood feared for reasons that had nothing to do with her talent. At the height of her fame in the 1930s, Bennett was the highest-paid actress in the business, raking in $30,000 a week. And she made sure everyone around her felt it. To her, crew members were invisible. She refused to learn their names, often snapping her fingers and pointing like royalty summoning servants. Anyone beneath her class might as well have been furniture. But Bennett's cruelty wasn't limited to the working class. She had a special disdain for younger actresses, especially ones who showed promise. Her words were like weapons. One young newcomer made a small mistake during a scene and Bennett cut her down in front of the entire crew. "I'm not surprised they dragged you in from whatever little town you came from, but I am surprised they expect you to speak." That girl left the set in tears. Even Joan Crawford once called Bennett the most conceited, self-centered actress ever to walk through a studio gate. And it got even darker behind closed doors. Her own sisters, Joan and Barbara Bennett, claimed that Constance actively tried to sabotage their careers, whispering to studio heads, spreading rumors, blocking their roles. Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones's downfall was swift and devastating. In 2003, he was convicted after pleading guilty to charges involving prohibited material and a minor, resulting in 5 years probation, mandatory counseling, and lifelong registration as an offender. The news stunned Hollywood and fans alike, instantly wiping out decades of hard-earned goodwill. Up to that point, Jones had been a staple in beloved films, recognized for playing eccentric and memorable characters in classics like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Beetlejuice. His on-screen persona, sometimes strict, sometimes quirky, made him a go-to actor throughout the 1980s and 90s. With training from the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, he brought a commanding presence to roles ranging from Principal Rooney to the uptight father in Beetlejuice and even Emperor Joseph II in the Oscar-winning Amadeus. But after his conviction, Hollywood shut its doors. Major studios and directors distanced themselves overnight. Fans turned away and any opportunities for a comeback faded quickly. Aside from a few minor roles, Jones vanished from the spotlight, remembered now less for his acting than for the choices that destroyed his legacy. As of 2025, Jeffrey Jones remains a stark example of how one fateful decision can obliterate even the most solid career, leaving only infamy in its wake. Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson is currently serving a 30 years to life sentence after being convicted in 2023 on 2 counts of assault. Once celebrated for his comedic talent, Masterson now finds himself at the center of one of Hollywood's most shocking scandals, his legacy forever overshadowed by the courtroom verdict. The charges stemmed from incidents that occurred between 2001 and 2003, when multiple women stepped forward to accuse Masterson of serious misconduct. The allegations, long kept in the shadows, exploded into the public eye during the #MeToo movement, igniting a storm of controversy. Questions swirled not only about Masterson's actions, but also about the influence and secrecy surrounding his ties to the Church of Scientology. Despite the rising tide of accusations, Masterson initially managed to continue his career, even securing a lead role on Netflix's The Ranch. But as the investigation intensified, and with public pressure mounting, he was abruptly removed from the show in 2017. The legal battles that followed were intense and highly publicized. During his 2023 trial, survivors took the stand, sharing stories of trauma and the long fight for justice. Ultimately, Masterson was found guilty and handed a sentence that ensures he'll spend decades behind bars. As of 2025, he remains incarcerated, his appeals so far unsuccessful. Danny Masterson's journey from beloved sitcom rebel to infamous inmate stands as a powerful reminder. No matter how high the celebrity, no one is above the law. His fall from grace has left an indelible mark on Hollywood and serves as a chilling cautionary tale for all. Well, should Hollywood remove all of Danny Masterson's shows from streaming platforms? Type yes if you think his work should be erased, or no if you believe the art should stay, no matter what the actor did. Joe Sun. Joe Sun is now serving a life sentence in prison, his name infamous not for his on-screen antics, but for a series of violent crimes that shocked even those closest to him. Once briefly recognized for his comedic role as Random Task in Austin Powers. International man of mystery, Sun's real-life story took a turn far darker than any film plot. Sun's downfall began in 2008 when a routine probation booking linked his DNA to a violent crime from the early 90s. The evidence connected him directly to a serious case that had haunted investigators for years. By 2011, Sun was convicted and sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars. But the horrors didn't end there. While in prison, Sun was charged and later convicted for the death of his cellmate in 2011, adding even more weight to his legacy of violence. Before all this, Sun seemed destined for a quirky Hollywood career. Born in South Korea and raised in California, he dabbled in martial arts, even appearing in UFC 4 and inventing his own fighting style, Jo Sun-do. Yet none of that would matter once the truth came to light. Today, Jo Sun's story is a cautionary tale, a fleeting brush with fame, followed by a shocking descent into infamy. Instead of laughter, his name now echoes in prison corridors, a grim reminder of how quickly a promising future can vanish in the shadow of unforgivable acts. Amy Locane is now serving a lengthy prison sentence after being convicted for a deadly car crash that claimed a life and left another victim seriously injured. Her actions that night, reckless, impulsive, and under the influence, forever changed her destiny and the lives of an innocent family. It was a summer evening in 2010 when Locane's speeding car slammed into Helen and Fred Seaman as they turned into their own driveway. The aftermath was devastating. Helen Seaman lost her life instantly, while her husband Fred suffered life-altering injuries. Investigators revealed that Locane's blood alcohol level was far above the legal limit, and eyewitnesses reported her car swerving wildly before the collision. Once celebrated for her role on Melrose Place, Locane was thrust into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. In court, she admitted her deep remorse, but prosecutors argued that her decision to get behind the wheel showed utter disregard for others' lives. What began as a 3-year sentence was later extended on appeal to reflect the true severity of the tragedy. Will Hayden. Will Hayden is spending the rest of his life in prison, no chance of parole, plus an additional 40-year sentence on top. His story stands as one of the most shocking downfalls in reality TV history. Once hailed as a skilled firearms expert and the face of Sons of Guns, Hayden's double life exploded into public view in 2014. What began as a single accusation quickly spiraled into a storm of revelations. Authorities discovered that for years Hayden had been using his role as a mentor and even as a father figure to target and manipulate multiple victims under the false pretense of trust and protection. As more survivors stepped forward, their testimonies, backed by medical evidence, painted a disturbing picture of prolonged abuse hidden behind his polished TV persona. Public fury intensified, and his once popular show was pulled off the air almost overnight. In 2017, Hayden was convicted on multiple charges and sentenced to life behind bars, with extra years stacked on to ensure he'd never leave prison. His legacy was wiped clean. What remains is a cautionary tale about how power and perceived respectability can be used as weapons, and how offenders often wear convincing masks. Who is this former child star now awaiting execution? Once you might have caught a fleeting glimpse of this youngster battling rubber-suited monsters on a wildly popular 1990s kids' action show. Back then, fame looked bright, even if the credit was blink and you miss it. But fast forward a decade and that same face would headline one of California's most haunting maritime murder cases. In 2004, posing as a friendly yacht shopper, the actor, joined by a spouse and 2 accomplices, lured a retired couple out to sea. Isolated on open water, the group forced the victims to sign over the vessel, then cast them overboard bound to the anchor. No bodies were ever recovered, only a chilling wake of unanswered questions. The 2008 trial gripped the nation. 3 murder counts, a death sentence, and revelations that the star had already tried to hire a hitman from jail. While fighting appeals, the inmate legally changed gender and now lives as a woman on California's death row, one of the state's 700-plus condemned prisoners under the execution moratorium. From bit-part hero to death row infamy, this tale feels ripped from a thriller script. Think you know the name behind the nightmare? Drop your guess in the comments, then brace yourself for the reveal. Zachary Horwitz. Zachary Horwitz, better known by his stage name Zach Avery, is now serving a staggering 20-year prison sentence after masterminding one of the most outrageous financial scams in Hollywood history. Convicted of securities fraud, Horwitz orchestrated a Ponzi scheme that stole an astonishing $650 million from investors, sending shockwaves through the entertainment industry. From 2014 to 2019, Horwitz lured investors, including friends and colleagues, into believing they were part of high-profile film licensing deals with media titans like HBO and Netflix. In reality, it was all smoke and mirrors. He faked contracts, forged emails, and kept the illusion alive by using new money to pay off earlier backers. While the scam flourished, Horwitz indulged in a life of luxury, multi-million-dollar mansions, exotic cars, and lavish parties, all funded by the millions he siphoned from unsuspecting victims. But when the money dried up and investors began to demand answers, the entire scheme unraveled. Federal agents swooped in, and Horwitz's web of lies finally came crashing down. In court, the true impact of his betrayal came to light. Beyond the financial devastation, victims spoke of shattered trust and emotional turmoil. Horwitz's story stands as a chilling warning about unchecked greed and the dangers of chasing fortune at any cost. From aspiring actor to convicted fraudster, his name is now a permanent cautionary tale in Hollywood's dark history. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was sentenced to prison in 2018 after being found guilty on 3 counts of aggravated assault, marking one of the most dramatic downfalls in entertainment history. For nearly 3 years, he remained behind bars, a stunning reversal for a man once known as America's dad. In 2021, his conviction was overturned on a legal technicality, and Cosby was released, but the damage to his legacy was irreversible. Cosby's legal cases shocked the world. Once beloved for his humor and wisdom, he became a symbol of broken trust and betrayal. The accusations against him spanned decades, with dozens of women stepping forward to share strikingly similar stories of manipulation and abuse of power. Decades before his arrest, Cosby had been at the very top of show business. He broke racial barriers, made history as the first black actor to star in a primetime drama, and created television classics like Fat Albert and The Cosby Show. As Dr. Cliff Huxtable, Cosby was the embodiment of the caring, wise, and funny father figure America adored. His influence shaped generations, both on screen and off. But beneath the surface, a very different story was unfolding. When allegations first resurfaced in the 2000s, many found them hard to believe until a wave of accusers came forward, each echoing the same disturbing pattern. The courtroom verdict in 2018 seemed to signal long-awaited justice and accountability for a powerful figure whose secrets finally came to light. Today, Bill Cosby's name stands as a cautionary tale. Even the most trusted public figures can hide dark truths, and no one is above the law. His legacy, once built on laughter and hope, now serves as a stark reminder of how quickly a reputation can collapse when the truth is revealed. Before we continue, we want to hear from you. What country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below and let us know how Bill Cosby's downfall was viewed in your part of the world. Ryan Grantham. Ryan Grantham, best known for his roles in Riverdale and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, is currently serving a life sentence after being convicted for the tragic death of his own mother. The court ruled that Grantham would not be eligible for parole for 14 years, reflecting the gravity of his premeditated actions. The incident unfolded in March 2020, sending shockwaves through both the entertainment world and the public. Investigators revealed that Grantham had meticulously planned the act, filming a confession in the aftermath that displayed a disturbing calmness. The story became even more unsettling when police uncovered Grantham's plan to travel, armed and prepared, to the Canadian Prime Minister's residence. Although he ultimately abandoned this mission and surrendered to the authorities, the discovery exposed just how far his intentions had spiraled. Throughout the trial, the court recognized Grantham's serious mental health struggles, but prosecutors emphasized the deliberate and calculated nature of his decisions. The verdict was clear. Grantham's choices left no room for leniency. Once hailed as a rising star, Ryan Grantham is now remembered for a fall from grace that left a permanent scar on his legacy. His case stands as a sobering reminder of how quickly potential can be eclipsed by tragedy, and how devastating the ripple effects can be when turmoil turns to violence. On a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked were you by the story of Ryan Grantham, the child actor who murdered his own mother and planned to kill the Prime Minister? Drop your number in the comments. 1 if you saw it coming, 10 if your jaw hits the floor. Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar is currently serving a 12-year and 7-month federal sentence after being convicted in 2021 for receiving and possessing prohibited digital material. His case was described by prosecutors as involving some of the worst content they had ever seen. He's now locked away at FCI Segoville in Texas, facing decades of supervised release once his prison term ends. But what makes Josh Duggar's downfall so jarring isn't just the crime, it's the contrast between the man he pretended to be and the truth revealed in court. Once hailed as the golden son of 19 kids and counting, Josh was marketed to millions as the poster boy for Christian family values. He smiled on TV screens across America, preaching faith and morality, while hiding secrets that would eventually destroy everything. The first crack in his image came in 2015 when reports emerged that Duggar had inappropriate conduct with several underage girls as a teenager, including his own sisters. The shocking part, his family and local authorities had known for years, but the public didn't find out until the media exposed it. The backlash was instant. TLC cancelled the show, and Duggar lost his position at a high-profile conservative advocacy group. That same year, another scandal exploded. His name appeared in the Ashley Madison data breach, a website designed for people seeking extramarital affairs. Josh confessed to being unfaithful to his wife and entered rehab, blaming it all on personal failings and a supposed addiction. But nothing could prepare the public for what came next. In 2021, Duggar's mask was ripped off completely. Federal agents arrested him on charges tied to disturbing online material. Investigators traced everything back to his workplace computer. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. In December, a jury found him guilty. Once the face of purity culture, Josh Duggar is now a living symbol of deception and disgrace. His legacy, forever ruined by secrets, scandals, and legal cases that shattered the trust of millions who once saw him as a moral role model. Sean Diddy Combs. As of June 2025, Sean Diddy Combs, once the undisputed titan of hip-hop, is still locked behind bars, fighting for his future in a battle that has shaken the entire entertainment industry. Diddy, who was arrested in New York back in September 2024, remains in jail after being denied bail. His highly anticipated trial, scheduled for May, has only amplified the spotlight on his dramatic downfall. Combs now faces a litany of serious charges, including exploitation, extortion, and violence, allegations that prosecutors say stretch back decades. The case against him continues to grow, with new twists surfacing even behind prison walls. Recent reports have claimed that Diddy attempted to influence witnesses while incarcerated, making his legal troubles even more severe. Despite Diddy's public declarations of innocence, the stakes have never been higher. If convicted, he could spend 15 years or possibly the rest of his life in prison. For someone who once defined success and luxury, the contrast couldn't be more stark. As of this month, sources inside the facility say Combs has become withdrawn and anxious, a shadow of his former self. No longer the confident mogul, he now reportedly fears for his safety every day, so much so that he is reluctant to eat, worried about being targeted even in prison. Michael Jace. Michael Jace is now serving a sentence of 40 years to life, convicted for the death of his wife in their Los Angeles home. The shocking crime, which took place in 2014, unfolded while the couple's young children were inside the house, turning a family tragedy into a story that horrified the nation. Jace, once praised for his powerful role as Officer Julian Lowe on The Shield, revealed a chilling reality that stood in stark contrast to his TV persona. Authorities quickly discovered a backdrop of mounting marital tension and financial hardship leading up to the crime. Testimony revealed that in a moment of rage, Jace confronted his wife, April, who had been seeking her own independence as their relationship crumbled. The trial ended with Jace found guilty and sentenced to decades behind bars, his legacy destroyed in a single night of anger. The lasting consequences of his actions continue to haunt his family, especially his children, and serve as a powerful warning about the devastating impact of unchecked anger and family conflict. These shattered estates prove that even marble walls can't silence the echoes of fragile hearts. Behind every boarded-up window lies a cautionary tale of excess, heartbreak, and the silent struggle with anorexia that forever haunts Hollywood's mirrors. So tell us, which lost mansion chilled you the most? And what untold secret do you think still lingers in its ruins? Drop your theories below, smash that like button if today's journey shocked you, and subscribe to Iconic Inside with notifications on, because the next reveal might be hiding just beyond another crumbling gate. Dive into our previous videos for more jaw-dropping Hollywood gossip you won't find anywhere else.